Okay, honest question here. When life gets busy or stressful, what do you do? If you're like so many military spouses, you tell yourself, I've got this, I will power through. You rise to meet the challenge, you grin and bear it, you do everything that needs to get done to make something happen, and you might just burn yourself out in the process. You find yourself feeling resentful of the life you have rather than living filled, and full of joy. Can you relate? In this episode, we're going to talk about taking time for yourself as a military spouse. I know it's often the first thing to go when the stuff hits the fan, but there is something you can do about it, even when life is crazy and out of control. Welcome to More Than a Milspouse, the podcast for military spouses who want to live with more meaning and less overwhelm. I'm your host, Christine, seasoned military spouse, mom of 3, life coach, and your guide to intentionally designing a life you're excited about as a military spouse. I'm here to help you get the clarity you need so you can get unstuck and unlock your purpose and potential. Because you, my friend, are more than a milspouse. You have something valuable to offer. And when you pursue the things that light your heart on fire, you trade frustration for fulfillment and isolation for a life of impact. It's time to discover who you are meant to be, because together we can change the world. Okay guys, before we dig in, I have one favor to ask of you. Whenever you take a break from podcasting, there's a reason why they tell you don't take a break from podcasting. It's because people stop expecting you to release episodes each week. So you got to build that momentum back up, which is what I need your help with. The easiest way that you can help me build back the momentum of this show is by doing one of 2 things. Number 1, sharing this podcast with someone in your life. If you have found any of the content on here helpful, then share it with someone in your life, because chances are they will probably find the content helpful as well. It is word of mouth that really grows our podcast more than anything else. So thank you for sharing it with those in your life. The second way that you can help support and grow this show is by leaving a podcast review on Apple iTunes. And if you've already left a show review, you can always go in and update your review, and that will bring it back up to the top and let people know that this is a podcast worth listening to, especially if you are a military spouse, because we have a lot of things that happen to us in life, and we need to be able to have tools and resources to help us navigate all of the challenges that life throws at us. So today we are talking about life when it gets busy, when it gets stressful, when we have a lot going on, which is something that is probably true of almost all of us. As a military spouse, there are very few times in my life, especially in this season with kids, where I don't have anything on my plate. I cannot remember the last time I was actually bored. In fact, I would bet that most of us would say there are plenty of seasons when we have too much on our plate, and trying to manage the mental load of everything that needs to be done. Who has doctor's appointments? Who needs to go to the dentist? Who's getting braces? Who's managing the family calendar and making sure there are groceries in the house and buying presents for birthday parties and everything else that life entails. And then oftentimes we're doing it solo parenting because our spouse is working long hours, or they're deployed, or they're off on a TDY or some training that we don't know that they're going to be there when we need them. So a lot of us have a lot going on, and in certain seasons we have even more going on. And so what often happens is we decide we cannot do all the things. And the first thing to go is taking care of ourselves. I think this is also common for women because we have this unconscious belief many times that it's our job to take care of everyone around us. I don't know if it's something that we just absorbed through culture, through childhood, or what it is, but we tend to want to take care of everyone else around us. We want to make sure that our kids are taken care of and that they have what they need. We want to make sure that our spouse is taken care of and that they have what they need. And if we have extended family that needs special care, then we're also often trying to support them. And if we have a job, we're trying to make sure everything at our job is taken care of. The only person that we are not prioritizing is ourselves. But what happens when we have all of the stress coming in and we don't have effective strategies for taking care of ourselves and dealing with the stress? Well, a lot of times we just bottle it up until our body reacts and we burn out, we get sick, a lot of things that can happen, not necessarily in the moment, but over time. And if we want to be able to show up for ourselves, if we want to be able to show up for our families, for those we care about, for our job, for our volunteer opportunities, for our purpose, if we want to truly live a life that both lights us up and impacts the world for good, we have to start by taking care of ourselves. So we know that it's important, but then so many times we don't do it. And I'm guilty of this as well. I recently shared it on an article that was posted on military.com where I talked about having all of this stress in 2020. I had all of these additional stressors as we were preparing for our first OCONUS PCS, moving overseas in the middle of COVID with 3 small children and a lot of unknowns. And I did what so many people do, is bury that stress, tell myself to just grin and bear it and see it through, and I stopped taking care of myself. And what happened was 4 months later, I developed shingles, which I do not recommend for anyone because it is extremely painful. Usually it happens in older adults, but it can be caused by stress. So I learned firsthand that if you are not taking care of your body, that stress is building up and ultimately it's going to come out in some way, whether that's through burnout, whether that's through illness or some other way. But we have to take care of ourselves. So we know that we're supposed to take care of ourselves. We know conceptually that we can't pour from an empty cup. Yet, we so often still fall back into these patterns of putting ourselves last, of taking care of everyone else before we take care of ourselves. So we know it's not serving us, but we still do it. So why is that? Sometimes we simply don't know what to do. We don't know strategies that are going to help us take care of ourselves. But I think most of us have a general concept of, hey, I need to get enough sleep, I need to drink water, I need to move my body. We kind of know things that are going to help us. There's enough information out there about what is going to help us deal with stress. We don't actually do it because we don't know how to fit it into our schedule, to fit it into everything that's currently on our plate, to fit it into our current season of life. So sometimes we know what we need to do and we don't know how to do it in our current season of life. But sometimes we know what to do, but we still don't do it. And it's because of the beliefs and stories we have. We've internalized these beliefs that it's not okay to take care of myself until everyone else around me is taken care of. I feel guilty when I take time for myself. I feel guilty if I'm not doing something for somebody. And this is the piece that I don't think gets talked about enough. We can talk about our busy schedule and we can talk about our lack of time, but we don't tend to talk as much about our thoughts and our beliefs around the importance of taking care of ourselves. And so we can conceptually know that we need to take care of ourselves, but we might have some limiting beliefs that are holding us back, and we might not even be aware that we have these beliefs. So today, I want to approach this conversation not from the perspective of how do we fit this into our busy schedule, but from the perspective of what thoughts and beliefs might be holding you back from taking care of yourself, from practicing self-care, from doing something that feeds your soul and helps you live filled, fueled, and full of joy. So what I would like to invite you to do is to take some time and just begin to notice your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs about taking care of yourself. What tends to come up when you think about the need to take care of yourself, when you think about the stress in your life? What story are you telling yourself? Or multiple stories you might be telling yourself. You might be telling yourself, I can't, or I shouldn't, or I should do XYZ. But where is that thought? Where did that belief come from? And is it helping you live the life you were meant to live? Is it helping you show up from a place that is filled, fueled, and full of joy? Is it helping you create the life you want? Or is it leaving you more depleted? I think many of us struggle with a sense of self-worth. If we get to the core of our struggle, we struggle to prioritize ourselves because we think we're not worth it, or that it's wrong for us to prioritize ourselves above doing something for someone else. A lot of times we have a voice that is very critical of ourselves inside. And so I would invite you to just begin to notice this. Not to judge yourself for those thoughts, those feelings, those beliefs, but just to notice what's going on in your mind. And then get curious. Ask yourself some questions. How am I talking to myself? Am I talking to myself in an encouraging way? Or am I talking to myself in a way that's critical and judgmental? Would I want to treat my child or someone I love the way that I am treating myself? Is the advice that I am giving myself, is the story that I'm telling myself one that I would give to a best friend or someone I love? Is this how I would encourage them to treat themselves? And then notice what comes up for you. Because the truth might be that the only reason you are not taking care of yourself is because you haven't figured out how to fit it into your busy schedule. But the truth might also be that there are some thoughts and beliefs that you have about taking care of yourself that are preventing you from prioritizing your needs. I think so many times we tend to think unconsciously sometimes that busyness is next to godliness. We think that being busy is the best way, when in reality, it's depleting us. Even Jesus took time away from the crowds, away from the people, to be able to get rest and restoration. So how do we get out of this cycle of having these thoughts, these beliefs that are actually keeping us stuck, that are keeping us from taking care of ourselves, from prioritizing our needs so that we can show up for those we care about. So I really wanted to make this super practical for you. So what I have done is create a 30-day Fill Your Cup challenge. And this challenge is designed to help us move from this place of putting ourselves last, of self-criticism, of self-neglect, and help us move into small and practical ways to take care of ourselves and help us fill our own cups so we don't burn out, so that we have energy and vitality and the ability to show up for ourselves and everyone around us, so that we can navigate these stressful seasons of life and come out stronger on the other side, so that we can navigate military life without losing ourselves in the process. So what does this challenge look like? All I'm asking is for you to do one small, kind, and nurturing thing for yourself for the next 30 days. Or if you want to, you can do this as a May challenge and choose one small thing you're going to do for yourself every day in the month of May, which, by the way, includes Military Spouse Appreciation Day. So let's just make it a whole month thing. But the idea of the 30-day Fill Your Cup challenge is to come up with a list of 30 amazing, awesome, nurturing, fun things that you can do for yourself. It does not have to be something over the top, something big, something that costs a lot of money. It's just about using your brain to think of things that are going to fuel your soul. And then choose one thing to do each day for 30 days. Now, what I will say is don't just wait for a day and then try to come up with something off the top of your head that day. Carve out, set a timer for 5-10 minutes, make a list of 30 things that you can do, and then try to do one each day. I have been doing this in the month of April, and it's been really cool just to see how much I've learned about myself through this process. And I've learned small things that I can do for myself that make a big difference. Now, I already have my self-care rhythms and routines that I do on a weekly, monthly basis, but it's just about being aware of ways that I can take care of myself. I think one of the things I love about this particular challenge is that sometimes we get stuck in a rut, thinking of like, these are the things that I do to fill my cup. These are the things I know I can do to take care of myself. And then when those things aren't available, we feel stuck because we're not sure how to pivot, what else we can do to take that place. Let me give you a couple of examples from my own life. So one of the ways that I used to feed my soul was by going and sitting in coffee shops, working from coffee shops, spending time in coffee shops. That was what I did to offload my stress. There was just something about the energy, the vibe of coffee shops that really just fueled my soul. And then 2020 happened, and all the coffee shops temporarily closed down, and that was no longer possible. And I didn't know how to pivot. What do I do instead? If the thing that I rely on is no longer available to me in this season, what can I do instead? And that's where some of us get stuck. And in 2020, I got stuck, and then I ended up going to the ER with shingles and having a doctor look at me and say, this is the worst case of shingles I've ever seen. That's not what we want. So fast forward 5 years now, and I have spent 4 years living on tropical islands and learning that one of the best ways to feed my soul is by going to the beach. If I can go look at the ocean for an hour, I feel so much better, and then I can handle all the other things going on in life. And if I don't take the time to go to the beach, then I have a lot harder time. This was one thing I learned about myself after 4 years of living on tropical islands. But guess what? Last summer, we moved away from a tropical island to the center of the continental US, where there is no ocean without at least like a 12-15 hour drive. So that no longer works for me. So I have to pivot and find new ways to feed my soul based on where I'm living and what's available to me in this season. And so why I love this 30-day Fill Your Cup challenge is because it's forcing me and you, if you take this challenge on, to get creative and learn about ourselves in the process. We'll learn more about the small things that we can do to feed our soul. So I just want to give you some ideas from my list in hopes that it inspires you to create your own list, and that it's not about being some big thing about having a certain amount of time or being able to spend a certain amount of money. It's about looking at your life and starting to think about what are these small things that bring me joy, that feed my soul, that allow me to rest. So, I wrote on my list, take a bath, lay in the hammock. I keep waiting for the sun to come out because it hasn't quite warmed up here, but we do have a hammock that we brought with us back from Hawaii. And so I'm like, okay, if we end up with a sunny, warm day, I can go lay in the hammock for 5 minutes to feed my soul. I also wrote on my list, drink out of a favorite mug, make myself a hot beverage, write in my journal, make myself a smoothie, curl my hair. It's not about spending money or time. It's about thinking about what are some small things you can do for yourself. And so I would encourage you to just take 5-10 minutes, set a timer, make a list of ideas, and then just choose one thing to do each day. And then I would love to hear from you how it's going and how you feel after 30 days, because it's really about learning to say it is okay to take care of myself. It is okay to do things that feed my soul so that I'm able to show up for the people that I care about, so that I'm able to contribute to the world around me. This is not about being selfish. It's about how we're able to show up and have sustainable success in the long run. I know you can grin and bear it. I know you can buckle down, get things done for a short amount of time, but I want you to be able to live in a place where you are fueled, filled, and full of joy, even as you are navigating some very stressful seasons of life. So I cannot wait to hear from you. Pop into our free Facebook community. If you are not already in there, I have the link in my show notes, or, message me on Instagram. Let me know what you found most helpful from this episode, and then share it with someone in your life. I look forward to being back with you soon. Until next time, may you live filled, fueled, and full of joy. Hey, amazing Milspouse, before you go, I want you to know that I love hearing from you. The More Than a Milspouse community exists to help you thrive as a military spouse. Figure out what lights your heart on fire and empower you to live with purpose and impact. You can have an incredible impact simply by heading over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. But your impact doesn't stop there. You can empower those around you simply by sharing an episode with a friend or neighbor, someone who needs a little encouragement in this military life. And if this episode was meaningful to you, spread the love by taking a screenshot of this episode and tagging me on Instagram so we can continue to reach more people, change more lives, and shift the way that military spouses look at life. Because we are better together. Together, we can change the world. Let's do it.